Alrighty, so today we're going to do the season preview of the Philadelphia Union. So we knew that for the last couple of months, this Union team was clearly tearing down their old core. We knew that as much as this core has brought them a lot of success, multiple playoff appearance, multiple deep playoff run, including reaching MLS Cup and even winning the Supporters Shield a couple of years ago, we knew that this core and the way that they keep running it back over and over again, it just did not worked out whatsoever. Last year was kind of the last hurrah, and once they realized that, yeah, this running back for the third or even for the fourth time just doesn't really have any success of getting over the hill. That's when the dismantling has happened, and that continue in this off season as well. Though I will say that there were a couple of members of this dismantling of the core that this Union team did this off season. I was kind of surprised that they decided to let go of these players. Consider I thought these players could be key in terms of fast forwarding the rebuild that they're heading into this season. But none other than the biggest surprise in terms of what we've seen the Union did this offseason is the firing of Jim Curtin. And I know Jim Curtin last year he didn't definitely was part of the big issue that the Union of course had, but I don't think it was the main issue, and I don't fault everything on him is the reason why the core that they build and the team that has regularly be considered to be one of the top tier team in the Eastern Conference have made multiple deep playoff runs just suddenly collapse like that. So in comes Bradley Carnell as the new head coach of this team. Obviously, it's a bit of an unpopular hire once again, and if you know anything about unpopular hiring, yeah, you know it most likely could work out very well because the last couple of unpopular hire most of the times it has actually worked out pretty well. Though I can also understand why Union fans are not happy about this hiring, and especially they're not happy with what the front office is doing of just completely dismantling the core and go through a bit of rebuild and almost are just kind of once again praying that their academy is going to produce some godlike talent and that somehow they'll hit on some of the limited signings that they had. That still somehow they're going to get themselves back into playoff contention sooner than later. So that being said, last season, it was a disastrous season for the Philadelphia Union, and really was kind of the end of the dominance that they had. Really all going all the way back to 2018. They finished 12th with a 9, 10, and 15 record. Finished with 37 points. It's the first time that they did not make it to the playoffs of what seems like for a while. The last playoff appearance, of course, was 2023. The last playoff series win was also 2023. And of course, the head coach. This is the first time in pretty much over a decade that a head coach that is not named Jim Curtin that is leading this team. It's Bradley Carnell. After he spent a year and a half with the expansion team with St. Louis before getting the axe. He's looking to trying to redeem himself as a head coach here with the Union. And then the sporting director is still Ernest Tanner. He's been there since 2018, and again, he's also been getting a lot of criticism as well from the Union fan base, especially the decision in terms of firing Jim Curtin. That is where I think a lot of Union fans are really upset. Consider again, even though Jim Curtin was kind of the part of the problem last season. He was definitely not the major problem. The reason why this team suffered a bit of a downfall to a point where they did not make it to the playoffs. Now, look at some of the signings that they have made. So, despite the fact that I think Union fans are just completely panicking this all season because they didn't make any signing, that's actually not true. They did make two big signing this off season. The first one though, it's not a signing, but more of a contract extension, and that of course is Alejandro Bedoya. They're gonna bring back the captain one more year, and this maybe could be the last year for the captain, and that there's no doubt that he wants to go out on a high. Although I was kind of surprised that they maybe not think about moving him on. Consider if you're gonna go through a rebuild like that, why not you just think about maybe letting Bedoya walk. I mean, it is a difficult decision to make. He means a lot to this Union team. He is by far the longest serving Union player on this team. But still, with the way that they're going through a bit of transition, going through a rebuild, I would assume they would also move on from this piece as well. But they also got Ian Galenovich, a loan from New Old Boys. That's the Jack Elliott replacement, and in their hope to reshape the back line that was absolutely horrendous last season. And they also signed Neil Peer and Frankie Westfield as a homegrown. Something tells me that they could be decent player for this Union team in the upcoming years, because that's what the Union does when it comes to signing homegrowns and putting them in probably the most talented academy right now in MLS. Sorry, FC Dallas. I know they're going to argue on that point, but right now I would say in terms of the MLS Academy ranking, the Union is probably still at number one, but Dallas is not that far behind in terms of that second position. And then recently, they of course signed Jovan Lukic from Spartak Sputivika, and this of course is the Jack McGlynn replacement. And as I'll mention also in just a bit, yeah, that was definitely one of the more surprising piece that they lost this off season. I was not expecting them letting go of Jack McGlynn this offseason, especially with how much value that he has on this team when it comes to them using as a bargaining tool to sell some of their best young player overseas. And then they of course got Frankie Westville, which I already mentioned him as one of the homegrown player. Now looking at the player that's no longer on this team, so they decided not to renew the contract of Santa Darren. Not a big surprise, because yeah, he pretty much did nothing during his time with the Union, and what a fall from grace it's been for San Darren. A couple years ago, he was definitely flying high with St. Louis City, but ever since he kind of got in the dog house of Bradley Carnell, yeah, he just never looked the same. And I also wouldn't be surprised the fact that even before the Bradley Carnell hiring, that I wouldn't be surprised they decide not to renew his contract. I mean, after the Bradley Carnell hiring, there's no doubt that if there was even any consideration of Santa Darren going to renew his contract, yeah, that's all but gone. There's no way you would decide to sign. He wants to sign a contract to a new head coach that is literally the one that put him in a doghouse in St. Louis, and really kind of that's when his career really has gone downhill ever since. They also declined the option of Jameer Pizio, while they also declined the option of Brendan Craig, who's now with Montreal. They declined the option of Jack Elliott as well. He's now going to the Chicago Fire. Again, we knew that there was a case where maybe one of these center back was going to be moving on after both of the center backs, who has been a rock solid foundation for this Union team over the years, just completely fall off the map. And it seems like Jack Elliott is the one that they decide to sacrifice. And like I said, he's now with the Chicago Fire. They also decide not to renew the contract of Leon Flock. This is another surprising one, though I will say maybe a little less surprising than Jack McGlynn, considering that I would expect that they were going to renew the contract of Leon Flock. I know he hasn't gotten as much minutes as he used to be, but he still could be a decent player and could be a big part for this rebuild at as well, but they elected that well because he's more just nowadays being as a depth reason. They decided to not renew his contract. They also declined the option of Matthew Real and Joaquin Torres, and then as I mentioned just a moment ago, the big surprise in terms of the transfer that they did this offseason is letting go of Jack McGlynn and trading him to the Houston Dynamo for some cash consideration. I mean, that was one I did not anticipate to happen. I did not expect him to move on from this team, but apparently that's what they of course are going to do. And the good news, at least for the Union, is that they do at least get some sale on fees as part of that deal. But still, I just feel like if you're going to do that, you might as well just keep him and consider he's done very well for this team, and he can really be a piece that can not only help some of these youngster that is coming up, but also could still anchor the midfield, and still can get this team fast forward in terms of this rebuild slash retool that they're going through this off season. Now, looking at the first 5 games for the Philadelphia Union, so they start on the road by playing against Orlando City. Then they have their usual kind of master versus apprentice derby, though it's kind of doesn't feel like that now that Jim Curtin is no longer the head coach of this team. But they play against Cincinnati on March 1st. Then they go on the road to play against New England before playing at home against Nashville, and then they play at home against St. Louis City. So yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one, because I was not expecting Riley Carnell to face his old team that quickly into his tenure with the Union, but I guess it's just happened to be in a coincidence that the Union, one of their 6 opponent that they face in uh, out of the Western Conference, is the team team that Bradley Cornell used to coach and fired him not long after. I mean, imagine if this game was at City Park, or as it's now called, Energizer Park. That is, I wonder what the reaction of St. Louis fans would be by seeing Bradley Cornell being back with this team. I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll still applaud him for what he did, at least in the first season, but they'll probably not applaud him in terms of how he kind of destroyed the team by the second season, and that, as I'll mention about him in just a bit, there is definitely a big flaw of Bradley Carnell, and the reason why some Union fans were not pretty happy when he was hired as the replacement for Jim Curtin. Looking at the last 5 games, they play on the road against the Vancouver Whitecaps before returning home by playing against New England. Then they go on the road to play against DC before returning at home to play against NYCFC, and then their decision day match is going to be on the road against Charlotte FC. So not a bad in terms of strength of schedule to finish the season. There are definitely some tricky games out there, but certainly not the toughest game that they have to deal with. If they're going to be a team that maybe once again could be a fringe playoff team heading into this season. Now, looking at the strength of this team, it's definitely the front three and the Youth Academy. I don't really need to mention too much about the Youth Academy. You know how strong this Union Youth Academy is. This academy has produced some of the best talent, not only in MLS, and that is youth talent, that is, but also they have been able to sell off some of these talent overseas, and some of them are now a big part of the U.S. men's national team as well. But obviously, the besides the youth academy, the front three obviously is going to be the strength of this team. So despite the dismantling that they have, they still do have their front three back heading into this season. So the front three of Mikel Uru, Daniel Gastak, and Ty Baribo, all three of them is coming back heading into this season, and all of them seems really good last season as well, and I expect they're going to be good again heading into this season, and will really carry the weight in terms of the goal scoring for this Union team. The weakness obviously has got to be the rest of the roster and the unproven youth commodity, and even the new signing commodity off this team. So as much as I know they have a very good youth academy, and I know I should trust the fact that whoever the Union is going to call up from their academy, or even from their MLS Next Pro team, things are going to work out. That doesn't always is the case. I mean, an example of that is that we look at FC Dallas. There's been times where Dallas, even as talented as their academy is, there are kind of some duds that they produce in terms of their academy that eventually they promote into the senior level, and didn't quite work out whatsoever. And that goes the same for the New York Red Bulls as well, another team that has a really talented academy, that is. So again, with these unknown youth commodity, that is going to be something that could be a concern. But also the bigger concern is, of course, some of the replacement that they of course get. These two signing I mentioned with Ian Donovanovich and Jovan Lukic, Lukic, these players are going to be really guys that, I know that it's going to be maybe take a while for these guys to really settle in this league, but when you look at the replacement that they need their tasks on, it's not going to be very easy to replace the like of Jack McGlynn in the case of Jovan Lukic, and Jack Elliott in the case of Ian Glenovich in that back line straight away, as Union fans are expecting that is going to be the case. Now, heading into the three big question facing this team. So the first big question has to be with Kevin Sullivan. So obviously, when it comes to probably the one of the biggest young player name that has been mentioned throughout last season, and this is going to continue to be mentioned again heading into this upcoming season, is the status of Kevin Sullivan. We know this kid is a young prodigy. We know how much talent that he has on this team. But how many minutes is he going to get? Is he going to get more of the minutes heading into this season? He got a lot of minutes with the MLS Next Pro team that is Union 2, and he looked really good during his time with Union 2. And it's hard to believe this kid is still only 14 years old. He's going to be 15 heading into this season, but we could be seeing almost like a Freddie Adu kind of situation again. Although, again, I probably shouldn't have made that comparison, considering we all know in terms of the tragic fault of Freddie Adu, but that's how talented Kevin Sullivan is. He definitely has U.S. men's national team material written all over it. He even said, I think, before that he wants to make the 2026 World Cup squad as well, which I mean that's maybe a little bit over ambitious, but if he performed very well this season and become a regular starter and maybe even shipped off to Europe relatively soon, which it seems like that's going to happen pretty soon because I think he's already signed a contract with Man City. So technically, the Union don't even need to worry about shipping off to Europe. They're going to do so, although we'll see whether or not if they can fast forward that. I'm assuming they probably can. He's probably going to have to turn the age of 18 before he actually does go overseas to join Man City. But yeah, there's no doubt that he's going to definitely maybe get more minutes this season. I don't know how Bradley Carnell will be when it comes to trusting his youth. I'm assuming he will definitely trust his youth coming from the Red Bull system. He's that is a system that we know about the energy drink soccer kind of system that they play, but also that is also a system that promote heavily on youth academy and youth player as well. And I think that's also kind of the reason why the Union decided to bring Bradley Carnell because they know that he's a guy that can definitely promote some of the youth talent that this team has when it comes to their academy. And then talking about the youth movement as well, again, we'll see whether or not if they continue to produce some great, excellent academy product that can be a big keys in terms of the depth of this team and really kind of fast forward this rebuild as well. And the same goes, of course, with the new signing as I mentioned. And then lastly, this is actually a question more on Bradley Carnell. And again, the big question with him is that is he going to develop a plan B besides just simply pressing all the time and play that energy drink soccer that he did with St. Louis. One of the reasons why he was so successful during his time with St. Louis, at least in the first season, is that even though they had the plan of playing that energy drink soccer, a lot of teams didn't quite figure out how to play it in the beginning, and it was kind of unexpected in some way that teams were kind of having tough time in terms of adapting it. Now, as the season goes along, we saw teams figure it out how to adapt against this energy drink soccer kind of style that Bradley Carnell and any former Red Bulls head coach would have. But now the question is that is there going to be a plan B besides that? Is there going to be a plan B in terms of you don't have to always just press all the time and put nonstop pressure because when you do that, you're going to leave a lot of gaps in the back. And as we also have seen before, it's also going to be interesting to see what happened when the Union are going to be getting the ball that is. I mean, I will assume that this team still would do fine because when we saw Jim Curtin doing his time coaching this team, and I still think that when you look at this team, it's still a very pretty much a Jim Curtin team, even with the roster turnover that they have. That this team did still do well when it comes to having possession, and that's going to be something that I think Bradley Carnell will notice, and maybe that's kind of the maybe the difference that he could at least have in terms of luxury compared to when he has with St. Louis, because during his time with St. Louis, he didn't really have the guy to be kind of a possession kind of team, and that's kind of when St. Louis really got found out, where teams just simply sit back and try to let St. Louis to break them down, and more times than not, St. Louis couldn't do so. Whereas this Union team, there could be a case that they do have the guys to break teams down if teams are going to simply use that tactic, simply knowing that if they simply just sit back most of the time, or even bypass the the initial pressure, they can find some space at the back. That also is going to be something that I think I am also concerned about the Union. Again, last season, this defense was an absolute disaster. And I wonder heading into this season, did they really upgrade their back line? I mean, they brought in a new center back, but there's a lot of question of whether or not if he's actually decent or not. That's another thing that I think could be concerned and something that again Bradley Carnell needs to develop a plan B where if things are not working out with the press, it's okay to not just always press all the time. It's okay to maybe sit back a little bit and be optimistic in terms or actually optimistic is not the right word. Optimistic is the right word. Actually, I'm probably completely mispronounce it, but yeah, they need to strike the moment when they want to press and also know when is not the moment that they really need to press and getting caught out at the back. Now, expectation for this team heading into this season, I think it's a fringe playoff hope and maybe some big sales of youth players as well. Again, they still have some good talent on their team that they can be sold off this off season or even heading into the summer transfer window as well. Well, I wouldn't say this off season, but maybe the summer transfer window or even in the winter transfer window as well. One name I can think of instantly is Kai Wagner. It seems like he could be on his way out as soon as the summer. There's been a lot of European team that is looking to trying to get him, and I think it's only a matter of time before he might be returning back to his native country in Germany. A lot of Bundesliga team is looking forward to get him, and the same goes for the other Sullivan brother in Quinn Sullivan. I mean, Quinn Sullivan really did very well last season. He really stepped up, and I think he's going to have to do the same thing heading into this season as well, especially with the loss of Jack McGlynn. But he could be another player that could be sold off because again the amount of times that he's been with this team and the amount of development that he's been with this team and the progress that he's clearly shown with this team, it's a matter of time before he's going to be a star with this midfield to a point where I think the Union just simply had no choice but maybe moving on with to him and sell him off for a big amount of money in the near future. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at the Philadelphia Union in the season preview. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of the season preview. And if you're a Union fan, what do you think is the strength, the weakness, the free big question, and also the expectation heading into this upcoming season for this team. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.